Welcome to A Rare Reality, a podcast powered by Jordan's Guardian Angels. I'm Christina Janes, Director of Outreach and Content Development for JGA, and I'm joined today by Priscilla Campos, Priscilla, I'm so excited. You were just here a couple weeks ago to talk about
I
your
know.
upcoming fundraiser, and I just said to you, you came back for more, so that's a really good sign. Thank
I'm
you for
happy to be
spending some
here.
time. Yes, it's so great. I love it. This time around, we're just talking about you and your family's story, and I'm thrilled to hear it, and I'm thrilled to share it with our community. I think it's so important to have these conversations. Um, and thank you. Thank you for sharing, because I know that sometimes these conversations can be hard to have too.
They are. Thank you so much for having me.
So let's talk through it. Uh, tell me your favorite thing about your little one right now.
So, Isabel, she is nonverbal, but she can get her point across. And she has such a big personality. Honestly, like she doesn't even need to talk to get her point across. So, I just love that she's always just so happy and so loving and caring with everyone. And those are her best qualities for sure.
Oh, I love it. Now, how old is she at this point?
She's 3.
She's getting bigger by the minute.
Yes, she's
Three
really
is
tall.
a fun age. Three is fun. It's sort of like things come alive in a different way too. Even though she may be nonverbal, you can tell that things start to connect.
Yes,
It's
it
pretty
really
special.
does.
Yeah. So let's talk a little
Is
bit about your story with Isabel. Where did this begin? How was your pregnancy normal? Was your birth story normal? And you don't have to go into details if you don't want to, but how were things?
so before Isabel, I did have a miscarriage.
Hmm.
Um, and later on that year, maybe like 6 months after, we found out that we were pregnant with Isabel in January. And during my pregnancy with Isabel, everything was going all right. I was very, very sick the whole time. Like
Yeah.
brushing my teeth was such a chore. It was crazy,
It's the
but
worst, isn't it? I mean, the day to
it,
day is just, they're so bad.
yes, I was really sick. I even ended up in the hospital with like food poisoning during my pregnancy with her.
Oh my gosh.
And
Was
there
she
was
your
something,
first?
she's my first,
Yeah. Okay.
yes, yes. And towards the, or actually during my whole pregnancy, my ankles were very swollen.
Hmm.
And my legs. And towards my end of my pregnancy, I had like level 3 pitting edema on my ankles.
Really?
And the doctor checked me out to see if I had preeclampsia. And luckily I didn't, but we just weren't understanding why my legs were so swollen. So we just, assumed it was just the pregnancy with her. Um,
Which is
so
scary in its own right, because getting around is not, I mean, it's not fun when you're pregnant, but that's even worse.
yes, like it would leave indents of my shoes on my feet, like from the swelling.
Isn't that
It was
crazy?
it was really crazy, yeah.
Was it a time of year when you could wear sandals or was it not? I mean, because,
Yeah, I was pregnant during the summer because Isabel
yeah.
was born September 18th. So I was able to wear sandals, thankfully, because, yeah, that and
Isabel and
Crocs.
Isabel and my second have the same birthday, September 18th.
Really?
Yep. Yep.
That's
They're
awesome.
he's a year older than she is, but yes.
Oh, that's cool.
What a small world. And
Yeah,
summer pregnancy was so not fun.
it was not. I was so hot the whole time.
I was like, I'll just be inside. I'll be right here if anybody needs me with the air conditioner running. That
Same.
was really something. So you're struggling with all of this. There's a lot of things that are happening and you've never
Yeah,
been through this before, so it's kind of fear of the unknown, I guess, too.
yeah. And I lost my mom to cancer when I was a freshman in high school. So I didn't really like
Sorry.
have any advice other than doctors for things during my pregnancy too. So that was kind of hard as well.
Sure. Yeah, nobody to ask
Yeah.
these questions to. Is this
Yeah.
normal? Is it something I know what to do? Yeah.
Yeah. Or like her experiences when she was pregnant with me or my
Yeah.
brother. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So you get to D-Day. It's time to have Isabel.
Yeah.
How did it go?
So I ended up having contractions like 1 a.m. that Friday before. And I was literally 40 weeks to the day, Like I was on point with that. And
Yeah.
we ended up going to the hospital in the morning and they sent me home because I was only like 3 centimeters dilated. And later that night, like close to midnight, I started having like really bad contractions and I got really sick
Hmm.
and I couldn't even talk. So we ended up going to the hospital and I was like 6.5 centimeters and I couldn't even like sign papers.
No, at that point, you're like,
Yeah.
no. We are
Yeah.
past the point of this at this point. We should have stayed.
Yeah.
Isn't that your favorite when they try to send you home? You're like, okay, I
Yeah,
guess, but
it was during COVID, so
yeah.
they sent someone 5 centimeters home. So they told me not to come unless my water broke, but my water never broke. So when I was really sick and I couldn't talk and I couldn't even sit down, I couldn't lay down.
No, you're miserable.
Um, yeah, so I was like, you know what? Like my instincts are telling me to go to the hospital, and I was like 6.5 centimeters.
Yeah.
So um, there were 9 women in labor. And so the doctor kind of let me labor by myself. He broke my water at 8 centimeters. And I got to like 9.5, practically 10. They said it depended on like the person, I guess. And the doctor had me do some practice pushes, and Isabel's heart rate dropped a little bit. And so he was like, you know what? I think she has the cord wrapped around her neck. So he did what is called a amniofusion, or yeah, I forgot the name of it, amnion fusion, where he adds like sterile fluid inside
Hmm.
to help
And let her
it
float a little.
move
Yeah.
Isabel around to see if he can like kind of get her out of the cord, because he had another patient that day that he did that successfully with. And so, you know, that happened. He came back with, so he like only delivers naturally. He doesn't do C-section. So he had like the person like on call to do that.
Yeah.
And they had me do more practice pushes, and our heart rate went really down. And so they're like, you know what, like we're gonna prep you for a C-section. And
Yeah.
you know, like I really didn't want to have a C-section, but I was willing to do like whatever for her to
Sure.
be born safe and stuff. And so I got really scared. And as you know, they kind of unplugged me, and I was already on an epidural, so they just kind of gave me more. And my husband was being prepped, you know, like with the outfit and stuff
Yeah.
to be sterile to go inside. And as soon as they wheel me out of the room, the machine starts buzzing that her heart rate is dropping, and the nurses and the staff ran with me like in the bed to the OR. And like 6 people picked me up, put me on the bed, and they just started like as soon as possible. And my husband wasn't even in the room, so it was really crazy and I was really sick, so a nurse had like a towel on the side
Sure. Yeah.
because yeah,
There's
but
just so much happening at that point too. And you've
yeah,
also, I mean, this is your first experience with this. It's
yeah,
from one mom to another where I had the same thing where all of a sudden they're like, we're doing a C-section and we're going now. And they're throwing scrubs at my husband and we're racing down the hallway. I mean,
yeah,
it's a scary
it
feeling because
really
you're
is.
out of control. You've been able to control so much of this for the 9 months.
Yeah,
But then after that, it's okay, guys, it's up to you. Can you please make this happen? I mean, it's scary. It is a scary feeling.
it really is. And especially he wasn't there with me, so at first.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really scary. And I couldn't, you know, really feel anything, but I just felt my body moving a lot.
Yeah.
And as soon as they said, here she is, and like the room was dead silent,
And you're
and
like,
we didn't hear a cry. And what happened was that she had the umbilical cord wrapped around her neck twice, and her arm was also entangled in that as well. So they were, you know, taking that off. And
yeah.
then when I heard that cry,
I know
it was
even
the,
now. Yes.
yeah. And yeah, it was just everybody like cheered, and um, they were really scared because I kept hearing the doctor like, "What's her heart rate? We need to hurry up, guys.
Yeah.
how far are we, or like stuff like that, because I could tell that it was a really serious situation. And but yeah, so she was fine. Then 30 minutes after she was born, she had her first what we called episode, where my husband was holding her and she stopped breathing and she turned blue and her lips were really dark blue. And
And
he handed her to the nurse, and the nurse kind of like patted on her back, and she was like, "Oh, it's common for babies to forget how to breathe when they're born." And so I didn't think that was right, and I thought they were gonna take her, to check her
yeah.
really, and they really didn't. Um, so then, I lost a lot of blood, and my hemoglobin was at like a 5.
Yeah.
So I had to have a transfusion. And so we stayed there for 4 days. And within those 4 days in the hospital, she had 2 more episodes in the hospital. And one of the times my husband was holding her and like was trying to do the same thing that the nurse did, and it
Yeah.
wasn't working. And I was in the bed, I couldn't get up at that
Yeah.
point.
Right.
So, and I had the machines like,
Compressing your legs and all of
yeah. And
that.
so I
Yeah.
couldn't get up, and he just runs and he's like, "Help, help, nurse." And he ran out, and the nurse and him came back in, and the nurse was able to get her to come back again. And it was really scary. It really was. And so,
At
and
that
I
point,
also
were they
wanted,
taking it seriously? Were they
I,
starting?
my doctor was amazing and the staff were amazing. I don't know what happened. Like, I thought that they would like take her to the NICU, monitor her, put her on oxygen or something, because like she turned like pretty blue,
Blue. Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I don't know what happened, but the people who did take care of us were really great.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I was also kind of scared. So that's why we stayed 4 days as well.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So we brought her home. Everything was all right. I did struggle to latch her, especially in the hospital. I had to have nurses physically do it
Yeah.
because I don't know if it was me or it was just, Isabel was like learning, but it was really difficult and it was really, really painful for sure.
Yeah.
So when I got home, I started pumping and doing both, and we were giving her formula as well to kind of help, because I also felt like I wasn't producing, but then they were like, "Yes, you are." So I don't know. I didn't know what was normal, so I just kind of like trusted,
You did what you had to do, right? I mean, at
Yeah,
that point, it's what
yeah.
fed is
So
best. It doesn't, no matter how long that happens or how it happens, you got to do what you got to do.
yeah. So she was 6 days old, and the night before, and I really, to this day, it really bugs me that I didn't pay attention more, but I didn't know. So I
Yeah.
really can't blame myself for this, but it also, I kind of get upset sometimes. So in the middle of the night, I woke up and I heard Isabel like making a weird sound, and I was really exhausted those days. She like woke up quite a few
Ah,
times during the night, and I was also recovering from a C-section too. And so I like turned on my flashlight, I shined it on her. I was watching her and she was kind of still, and then I paid attention to her breathing, and then she was breathing, and she was fine. So then I went back to sleep, and I'm pretty sure that was also an episode, thinking back to it.
yeah.
So I don't know how many episodes between day 4 and day 6 happened. I didn't really know what to look for
What to look
either,
for.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And so that morning I was getting myself dressed in her dress. My brother-in-law was here helping my husband with like paperwork for his job to be on leave. And she turned blue. And this time I saw it for myself because I hadn't seen the other 3 times.
Yeah.
And I started patting on her back and it wasn't working. So then I just blew on her face. I don't know why I
Yeah.
thought to do that, but I did that. And she
She's like,
almost
oh,
like snapped out of it, but she got like really sleepy and really weird. She almost felt like a rag doll, like she was very floppy in my arms.
yeah.
Um, and when she was born, she was also really rigid. Her arms were kind of like in, and it was really hard to change her because it's like she wouldn't stretch out.
Yeah.
I had forgot to mention that previously, but
Yeah.
um, So I brought her down. My brother-in-law saw her, left, and when he was holding her, he was like, "Yeah, this is weird. Maybe you guys should take her in."
Yeah.
And so after he left, she had another episode. And we were expecting company, and it was my godmother and her mom was really great friends with my mom. And I had to tell them, "Hey guys, we actually have to take her to the
Sorry.
hospital. Something's going on." And so they were already like around the corner. So they just dropped off everything, the food. And, we called her pediatrician, and they were like, take her to Valley Children's
Yeah.
in Madera,
Yeah.
by Fresno. And so this story, I might cry because I usually cry every time, but
Right.
it's very hard. So, we grabbed everything or whatever we thought we needed, and we started heading towards Madera, which that's about an hour from my house. And when we were in a town called Chowchilla, we were about 15 minutes in our drive. Isabel had another episode in her car seat. I was in the back seat. My husband was driving, and I told him, I was like, babe, like Isabel's having a seizure, and he's like, blow on her face. And so
Yeah.
I'm like tapping her in her car seat. I obviously can't take her out. And so I was like blowing in her face, and like nothing was working. And he was like trying to drive, and he just stopped on the side of the freeway, like where there was a bunch of cars,
Yeah.
and I was freaking out because it was longer than I had ever been.
Yes.
And
Yes.
um, he got out and he grabbed her from me, and just the screams that he screamed that day was so crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's panic.
Yeah. And he couldn't get her back. And so I was screaming like, help her, what do we do? And we called 911, and I was able to finally get her back. I don't know how long she was without oxygen, and I don't know, but even her hands and her feet were blue. And um we stopped at like a steakhouse that's right there off the freeway because they told us to go somewhere where they can identify where we're at,
Yeah.
because we were kind of like on the side of the
On the,
freeway,
yeah.
and that's also
Yeah.
not safe. And so when we got there, a little bit after the people, the ambulance came, and when Isabel would have these episodes, like she would turn blue and then she would just like be normal. Like after, she would be
Yes.
really sleepy and really like floppy, but she looked like nothing ever happened. So the people from the ambulance got there, and they were like, she looks fine. And I'm like, she
You're
was
like,
not
but
breathing a second
5 minutes ago
ago.
she wasn't breathing. So can we
Yeah.
take her to the hospital,
And they
please?
were arguing with us, and they were refusing care. And I'm like, this probably wasn't the best, my best time, but I was really frustrated because I had never heard of that in my life. Like,
Yeah.
an ambulance turning us away like that. And so, um, I was like, how is this your job and you're not wanting to help someone? And
Yeah. We
I
need
didn't say
help.
the nicest things. And I told my husband, like, I was like, let's go. They just don't want to do their job. I don't know why they're in this field if they're not wanting to help people. Like, this is a baby. And they saw how distraught I was. They saw I was crying. And then they were like, okay, we'll take her, but we're not going to drive any faster than the speed limit unless there's an emergency. So
I,
this,
I
yeah,
mean, maybe that's protocol for I don't know what they
I don't know
I don't
either.
know. I don't know anything about that, but I also am like at some point you can see that there's a distressing situation
Yeah.
happening here, right? I mean, you guys are clearly panicking.
Yeah. Yeah, and she
Um,
was 6 days old. Like this is literally a baby, and we told them
yes.
that she had these episodes before. So I don't know. I don't know what the protocol is, and I was kind of in shock.
Yes.
But
Yes. And all the
so
way around, you've been through a lot in 6 days.
yeah,
So
and
did
so
they take her to the hospital or did you end up taking
so
her?
so they ended up taking her to the hospital. And the speed limit there for regular cars is 70, and for trucks is 65. So they drove 55, if not 50 miles an hour, all the way to the hospital. So I don't know. My husband was really frustrated, and he felt like it was almost on purpose. I don't know. I really don't know. I wasn't paying attention. I was just trying to
Make sure she was
make sure she
okay.
was
Yeah.
okay. And the guy was being really hostile with me. He kept being really aggressive, like, look, she's fine, she's fine. And They weren't nice. They really weren't. You know, just their demeanor and like what they said to me was really like
Very
frustrating.
hard.
So we get to the hospital, only one parent can go in. So my husband's had to stay out because, you know, she was born in 2021. So it was still like
Yeah.
COVID time. And, you know, the ambulance person, I overheard him telling the nurse that he didn't believe that, you know, that's what was happening and that we were new parents and we just didn't know. And
Like, well, give it 10
like
minutes, something will happen again. So,
literally 10 minutes after she was there, she had her first episode in the hospital. Um, then they took her to the PICU and we were there for a whole week. Doctors did so many tests, EEG, echocardiogram, MRI, like they did something in her spinal. So I can't remember what the test was, but they did everything. And she even had episodes while she was on oxygen on high flow. So she had about 8 that day, and she had I think maybe like 1 the next day after they, you know, got her to
and
be
there's at this
stable.
point, they're seeing this. They
They're
know what's
seeing,
happening.
and
They're
the nurse
tracking.
that was talking to the person from the ambulance was like, "Oh, so this is what you were talking about," and I was like, "Yes."
Yes.
So,
Hello.
yeah, so we were there. They found nothing, and they called it brew.
Uh-huh.
So Bruce is spelled, let me find it in my paper. I wrote notes down.
She was well prepared for this podcast. Poor
Yeah,
thing.
because I just wanted to make sure I was saying the right things and not saying the wrong like stuff.
No, it's
So
hard. Yeah.
Brew is spelled BRUE and it stands for brief resolved unexplained event. So pretty much a medical term saying they don't know.
Thing. I don't know what's happening.
I didn't want to send her home. I talked to like the staff there. I'm scared. I'm afraid to take her home. And they said, you know, there's no more tests that we can do. Like, she's not having these episodes anymore. So we have to send you home. So the best they did was send us home with a DVD for CPR for us to watch. Um,
So, that's a lot in a very short amount of time. I mean,
yeah.
that's the most obvious statement I could probably make, but that's a lot in a very short amount of time. So
Yeah.
now you have her home and you're knowing that something isn't isn't quite right. You've never
Yeah.
done this before, but you also know in your gut that this isn't how things are supposed to go.
Yeah. The hospital stay really stressed me out and I lost my supply to breastfeed. I would only be able to pump like 1 or 2, but I
Yeah.
still gave her whatever I could. And also I ended up having blistering where my C-section was from walking because I wasn't supposed to walk for like 2 weeks.
Yep.
Her doctor, and I couldn't even see my doctor because I was there with her, you know? So that happened too. And yeah, I
It's
was just,
it's compounding, isn't it? And then you don't feel good, you're tired, you're trying to figure
yeah,
this all out, you're mentally and physically stressed. It's
yeah,
just a lot. I
yeah,
mean,
it is.
they don't tell you from the very beginning that it's hard to have your first and understand it. I mean, I vividly remember looking at my mother when we brought our oldest home and I was like, "Now what? Does it come with a manual? Like what do you
They
what do
sure
you do?"
don't.
She's like, you let it sleep and then when he wakes up, you feed him and you change him. He will be fine." But there's that feeling of what do we do now?
Yeah.
Next and what comes next. So how did you eventually get from day 8 when you go home with a CPR DVD to knowing that like there's got to be something more here?
So luckily I have really great family on my husband's side. They are absolutely amazing. And my brother-in-law and sister-in-law bought us an outlet monitor.
Yes. Yeah.
So we felt okay with that. It did go off a few times. I did notice that a lot of the times that she had her episodes, it was while she was sleeping.
Uh-huh.
It was never when she was awake. It was, yeah, that was the majority of the time.
Yeah.
So we started seeing, you know, different specialists. We saw every specialist at one point except for dermatology.
Yeah.
And and
Maybe.
I felt like we weren't being taken serious. And it wasn't until we went to go see a GI doctor And we had tried to see if it was acid reflux, gave us medicine. It didn't work. It was still happening. And when he really hurt us and when we felt really seen, and he was the one who made all of the referrals, which that's incredible that, you know, a GI
GI
doctor was
doctor.
able to do that because every other doctor we talked about our concerns, I felt like we weren't being heard or taken serious. So, yeah, so it wasn't until so I'm a hairdresser. I had to go to work. I was
Hmm.
getting ready for work and I had to call my friends. They're actually like my best friends who I work with, which is awesome. And
Yeah.
I called them frantically saying, "Hey, can you guys do my client? Can one of you guys cancel my client for me? Isabel just had another episode and I can't go in." And so they canceled the client for me. And my friend was like, "Priscilla, remember to record because
Mhm.
every time it would happen, after the hospital until then,
You didn't catch it.
I didn't catch it because I
Yeah.
was so frantic. It was fight or flight mode.
Sure.
And so the next time it happened, which was like maybe like 10 minutes, 15 minutes after I got off the phone with her, and I remember to record it. And another one happened that day. So we did have to take her to the hospital. She had like countless visits, between the hospital and, this
Yeah.
point. And whenever the doctors saw that, they were like, "Oh, she has epilepsy." And they
Like,
stopped.
guys, come on.
Yeah. They stopped and they stopped searching and she was behind on all of her milestones. Her muscles were not strong, they tested her,
Yeah, low muscle tone. Sure.
yeah, she had low muscle tone and she wasn't meeting her milestones. And it's not that I was comparing, but there was, somebody in the family that, had a little one that was born like maybe 2 weeks after Isabel. And I didn't know what to expect in motherhood. So I kind of like, saw it and
Yes.
I didn't see the same things happening in Isabel. And so after this epilepsy diagnosis, I got really frustrated and I really pushed for more because I had a gut feeling that there was really more than just epilepsy.
Sure.
So, and also, we've had the finding that she had like a heart murmur. It did close
Mhm.
after some time, and she had a space in between her brain and her skull.
Mhm.
That what her brain wasn't growing in to fill that in how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And so it was just all these little things, and it just didn't make sense to me. And so they said that was the last resort was to do genetic testing.
And you're like, yes, please, let's do it. Thank you.
Yeah, and
Please.
I didn't know what to expect. I didn't expect anything, honestly. And yeah, the results came back, and it showed that Isabel had 2R5D,
Mhm.
and her variant is R253P. And I haven't really seen another family with this variant. Maybe there is, but
I'd
um,
have to look at the database. I don't know
yeah,
offhand,
I
but
haven't seen, but she was de novo. And then
yeah.
another thing came up as well, which is TTR related amyloidosis,
Mhm.
which is another condition that I just found out I have. Pretty much your body creates like this protein that attacks your body. So that came up on hers too, and it showed that it came from me. But
Yes.
Jordan syndrome was de novo, so
Novo.
it
Sure.
didn't happen.
Which
Uh,
it often is, right?
yeah, it often
Yes.
is. And then we, were sent to Stanford, and yeah, we've been going to Stanford, and they've been really great. It is 3 hours from my house. It is pretty far, but it's honestly so worth it.
It's nice to know you're in good hands, right? Not to say that
Yeah,
you weren't elsewhere, but if you can go somewhere
yeah,
where they say to you, we can help,
yeah,
there's comfort in that. It's worth it.
yeah. And so yeah, Isabel's been all right. We've just been having a hard time now managing her seizures.
Mhm.
We are on medicine for, um, but our neurologist is really great, and she's always trying something new or always doing different testing. And
Right.
Isabel goes to physical therapy, feeding therapy, and speech therapy every Wednesday. And I take her to Livermore, which is
Yeah.
2 hours from my house. weekly.
You spend a lot of time in that car, you know?
Yes, I sure do. I really do. But honestly, it's so worth it. I've seen so much growth in her, before. So she didn't walk until 22 months,
Right.
and she didn't crawl until she was 19 months. So I've seen a lot of progress from her then until now, and it's really great. And I feel like we're getting really great care right now. And Isabel also, she doesn't chew her foods. She struggles to chew, so she just swallows. So we have to give her really soft foods,
Small. Yeah.
and she silently aspirates on liquids. That's something we found out in January, I believe.
Yeah.
And so she silently aspirates. So we have to put her on level 3 thickeners. And she can walk.
Yeah.
She is very clumsy. She does fall a lot, and she does have braces on like her ankles for support and stuff. But she does pretty good, It if she does walk a long distance, she does fall, and we do need to help her. But other than that, she's doing great. She started school last year.
See?
And I really do feel like they really have helped too
Yes.
with her, because she does have like behavioral issues sometimes. And she also was diagnosed with autism last year, more on the like severe spectrum of it. And yeah, I feel like she's been doing so great. She's thriving. I feel like so much change has been happening. We in her physical therapy appointments, like she wants to touch the tablet to like talk. And she needs OT, and we're still on a wait list, but
You'll
she's
get there.
been like signing, like if she wants more, she claps. Open, she claps. And she's letting us know, and that's so great, because before she would just cry, and we would just have to like frantically try to figure out what was going
Figure out
on
how
with
to do it.
stuff. But
So you see, she's making strides. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. I'm so excited to be doing the event in May with Carla and Sandy. I feel like
It's gonna be fantastic.
it is.
And
And
for those who haven't listened to the previous podcast, please do so because it's there's all kinds of information about what you're doing, but give the brief version of it for those who have heard it, what you guys are planning.
yeah, so um, we have so many people wanting to be a part of it, and so many
Yeah.
people helping us. And it's so great to have like the love and support of my community. And I'm really excited. We're gonna have like games and food vendors, and even possibly the UC in my town. And they're like medical part of the school. It has connections with UC Davis and UCSF. So I really want to bring the students over to kind of learn more about it, and just like let the community know more about it too. You know, to hopefully get more families diagnosed.
Yep. Raise funds and raise awareness. It's a double
Yes,
whammy. It's the
yes,
best.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
What was it
I,
like for you? I mean, I feel like, you and so many other families know the importance of giving back and fundraising and doing all the things that you're doing. What was it like for you though when you got that diagnosis and you found that you had this community?
I was really depressed for about 6 months there. And I, I don't know. It was really hard for me to cope. And I forgot her name, but she did a speech during the conference. And that's exactly how I felt. Most of my family are in Brazil, and
You're talking about Lucy.
yes,
Yeah.
Lucy. Yes. And most of my family are in Brazil. And so it's just like my dad and my brother. And um, it was just really hard. And, people were really supporting us, which was great. It wasn't until I went to the conference. And honestly, that conference 100% changed my life. It really did. I really hope they continue in the future and stuff, because it was so nice to hear other people with similar stories, to feel heard, because I felt like nobody knew what I was talking about. Nobody knew Jordan syndrome. None of the doctors knew. They, it was just really hard, and I felt seen and understood and heard. And after that, I felt like it lit a fire inside me, and I wanted to be a part of it. And so I became an ambassador, and I'm so happy to do this. And I'm so happy to help families and give them support. And it's like the most beautiful thing ever to be part of this community. Everybody is like so united and so loving, and everybody is fighting for each other's kids. And that's like, I've never seen anything like that. And I'm so glad to be a part of it. And yeah, I love
We're so
it.
glad to have you. And thank you for stepping up in a big way. It's so important for us to all come together. This team is small, but it's mighty. But we need the support of families like yours to be able to move forward and do the work and make sure that we're on the right track. And to have that support both from fundraising or the ambassador program or what have you, it's huge. It is
It
huge.
is.
And it's so important. This you wanted to be a part of the community, but the community wanted you to be a part of it too. And I think that that's the thing is that this is a very symbiotic relationship.
It
It's
is.
everybody wants to be a part of it together. And I think that that's what makes it go far.
It does. It's so crazy because this week I had a person find me on Instagram,
Yeah.
and he reached out and he was like, "Hey, my son got diagnosed yesterday and I can't find anything online, and I found you through a hashtag on Instagram." And then he realized that I was Brazilian too, and then I was able to talk to him in Portuguese. I got on a phone call with him, and he found me before he found JGA.
Incredible.
And I thought that was really crazy. So I gave him all like the resources, and I referred him to different Brazilian families that I knew of.
Yeah.
And I actually referred him to the newest Brazilian ambassador, Cadu.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because I sent him to him without even realizing it, because Carol had told us right after I had like written on our group about this. But social media is very powerful,
It
and
is.
it really is. So
And it's a true testament of, being, I haven't been able to find anything, but look, I found you. There's also, there's something about this all at work together that's very interesting because what are the odds that you had that much in common, that he found you in a hashtag and that you were then able to direct him in these different directions? There's
and then
so
spoke
many
the same
things.
language.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's so many things that happen all the time. And I get chills every time we have these conversations because we'll have these podcasts and they're like, and then this happened. And I'm like, see, like it blows my mind every single time that this community, the things that happen in this community, it is incredible.
It really is. It really is.
And every single time I'm like, there's see something else in action here. Like it's very special. We're coming right up here on clinical trials, and I will say that it'll date this, but it's right around the corner.
It
And
really is.
what are your feelings? How do you feel about all of that?
I'm feeling very hopeful. I'm really excited for the future. I am really hoping for this to have a positive outcome, and it's just it's just crazy. Isabel, she wasn't old enough to be a part of it, but if she was, we would probably definitely do it as
Yeah,
well. And I think the people who are in this trial, like, they're making history. They're making history. They really are. They're going to be changing so many lives in the future, not only just for, Jordan syndrome, but for other things as well. And I'm
it's true.
just so blessed to know some of them.
And someday, if with the success of this trial, things will change again, ages will drop. Hopefully, that's what we're
Yeah.
hopeful for is that, we'll be able to apply this to many other people in our community too. That's the hope.
Yeah.
So change is right around the corner. Hope is here. I hope that
It
you feel
is.
that. And I
Yeah,
hope that,
and that Brazilian guy that had reached out to me, he said, "Oh my gosh, like I feel so hopeful. Yesterday, I didn't think my son would be able to go to school or do, everything, and now there's these trials, so he's really excited and very hopeful too." So,
good. I'm so glad. I will tell you, I know that it was a rough start for you to say the least. But in sharing the trauma of it all, and the story of what you've been through. I think that that's helpful for other families who are going through something similar or have seen something similar or are not sure what they've been through and oh my gosh, what is this? Or someone who hasn't even been there yet who will be
Yeah.
able to listen and hear this and know the questions to ask and know, listen, we've heard this in this community. We know what this looks like. These stories are priceless because it's so important to be able to share this and to be able to make sure that other people hear it. So I know it's hard to recount, but
Yeah.
I want you to know how important that is for other families too. We've had so many new families who have said, I've listened to every single one of these and they've all been helpful.
And it's important too, that it's okay to feel a certain way. It's okay
Yep.
to be sad, but that's why I wanted to be like very like real and raw with everything that was happening too, because sometimes hearing it is very helpful to yourself too, how you're feeling, and
Yes.
you can really relate to it for sure. And
Yeah.
I
And I,
know other podcasts I definitely have related to some of the things too, and makes me feel heard, like, oh my gosh, that also happened to us,
yes.
So
And I think there's something really powerful in what you're saying and what so many the other moms and dads have said too, and what Lucy said at the conference when you're able to put words to what you were feeling and
yeah,
be able to explain that the grief and the hardship and the confusion and all of those things that come with it and feeling very depressed and alone and I don't know what to do, that's real and that happens. And I'm hoping that this serves as a beacon for someone who's listening to this and needs help,
yeah,
needs that, to know that there are people here for support and that they can reach out to any of us at any point and say, I'm feeling the way that you've felt. I need some help. I want to talk about it because there's
yeah.
so many people who are here to talk.
Yeah. And if anyone's listening and, they felt the same way and they need someone to talk, I'm here. I'm here to listen. I'm here to support anyone. So
Yes.
don't hesitate for sure.
No, it's so important. So thank you for sharing your story. And we are so excited about your fundraiser. It's going to be fantastic. Again, if you have not listened to that podcast, please do. There's a wish list also involved for all of the things that you need for the big event. So help them fulfill that wish list. Get in there and donate something to the event. And we're just so excited to see it all unfold and to be there to cheer you guys on.
Yes. Thank you. And I'm excited for families to come down and just meet them and
It's a great
just,
way to unite
yeah,
everybody and to have
yeah,
something really fantastic.
yes.
Well,
Thank you so much for having me.
thank you for coming on and for being so real. And please give Isabel a big hug.
I
Uh,
definitely will.
her sweet little face. It's you're a lucky mom, and she's lucky to have you and your husband who are constantly going to bat for her on a regular basis. So thank you for
Thank
working so
you.
hard.
I'm so blessed to be her mom. I don't know. I just look at her and she's literally perfect. She's so perfect the way she is, and I won't
Right?
change anything about her.
Not one single thing ever. Not one thing. I love it. Priscilla, thank you. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much. And for all of you out there who have not heard our other podcasts, please take a minute. They're on our website, jordansguardianangels.org. They're on YouTube for translation services, so you can listen to this all around the world and make sure you don't miss a minute. And they're on all of our podcast platforms as well. So take a minute, listen to them. Somebody out there will definitely connect to you on this one. So I appreciate it. I appreciate you spending some time with us. And I'll be reaching out again for more things, I am sure. Priscilla, thanks. And thanks to all of you for joining us today. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.